everyone, and welcome to the Amazing You podcast, where we bring you inspiration and motivation, and we want you to realize just how amazing you really are. We have a special guest today. His name is Daniel Gomez, and he is an award-winning author. He is a motivational speaker, a life coach, and he also does a lot of charity work and works with different charities for different purposes. But welcome, Daniel, to the podcast, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, Elizabeth, well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And I'm so excited to be a guest. I had it on my calendar here for a couple of weeks already. We've been talking about it. And I'll tell you what, I'm just excited. I'm so proud of you just for the amazing job you're doing. And a little bit about myself, man. Daniel Gomez inspires. I just love people. I help people. And what I mean by that is just that people don't really care about what Daniel does. It's really about how I can help you and help anybody else around the world. And I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a business coach, executive coach. And the most important thing is that I really help people see their true potential and elevate their value and how they see themselves. Because if we don't see ourselves as winners and champions, and we don't see ourselves as how God created us to be, we're never going to reach that full level of success, that full level of happiness of why even God put us on this earth. So I'm excited to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I think you're right. I think so much of what we manifest has a lot to do with our inner self-talk. And a lot of times we have negative self-talk. We have to have a positive self-talk. So tell me, Daniel, how did you decide to go into being a life coach? I mean, what inspired you to do that? And how did you get to that level?
Well, you know what? You made a comment here. I want to talk about that because he said so many times we play those negative words in our head, right? And it's funny you say that because I was working out this morning before I came on your podcast, and I was talking about the idea came up of the demons, right? These demons that linger in our hearts and our minds. And these demons keep coming up and they tell us, you're not enough. Who are you, Daniel? Or remember that last mistake you made? Remember that failure? Remember when you did this thing wrong as a leader, as the owner of leading an organization, or maybe you had an affair, whatever it may be. Maybe you just, things happen in life. Those skeletons, right? Those demons. And it really spoke to me at the gym because I was just there really just trying to motivate myself to do another set, another rep. But I said, man, and I was just looking at the people and everybody, we have these demons that we never confront. And the fact that we never confront these demons, Elizabeth, I love the comment that you said. That's where those negative thoughts of how we talk about ourselves come, because the reality is, guess what? The only power those demons have in our minds, in our lives, we feed them.
Yeah,
right?
I know
We
it's
feed
true.
them.
It's very true.
We feed
Very,
them.
very true.
And to answer your question, when I first came out as a life coach, I had demons that I was going through myself, And the thing is this that I've learned is I realized that I needed a lot of just help in healing internally myself to manifest the right things, like the word that you said. And as I started going forward, I realized that people need help in life, because whether it's in life or business, if we never deal with those demons and put them to rest and stop giving them the power that we give them, right? We create these things and then we feed them every day, and then it keeps us from being our best in life and business. I just saw so many people with hurt and pain because I had a lot of hurt and pain that I needed to be healed from. So I think that's what really, when I came out, that's when I came out as a life coach. And then as our business grew and my speaking career just took off, then people started asking me for advice. And my intentions weren't to really be a business coach to say, but the thing is this, I ran businesses for over 20 years. I was very great at it. We made millions and millions of dollars as me running organizations, but that wasn't my intention. And as my mindset shifted and I saw myself as a successful business owner and everything just came about, then from that life coach, then the business and executive coaching was birthed, and it's been great. So it was just, it's really just giving back and helping people deal with those demons that we never put to rest.
No, I think you're right. I think I think there's a saying that what you resist persists, right? Until you face it head on. And I know I've seen that come up quite a bit, with myself and in my journey. So Daniel, tell me, what are some of the things that you felt like really hindered your progress? And then how did you get through those things?
Wow. We know we were having a small conversation before we started recording here, and I think for me as a man, it was just really I carried a lot of shame and guilt for months, for years. But this is the thing is that we only see the tip of what we think is there. Just imagine, we've all heard the iceberg theory where the top of the iceberg is only 10% and the bottom, the really like the rest of the icebergs under the ocean, the water, 90% of it's there. And it's like, that's where the meat of the iceberg is. Well, that
Mhm,
happens to us people when we see something in ourselves. Well, we only see the tip of the iceberg, that 10% that's visible at that moment in our lives, in that season that we're in.
mhm,
And I knew that, there was some things that I had to forgive myself for, because when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 4 years ago, when I made the decision to resign to take care of her, there was some things that I carried shame with, right? I had shame about it. And as I forgave myself, I said, well, I'm done, right? I'm done and good, let's go. And for that season, it was good. But then
mhm,
as my success elevated, as I grew as a speaker, as a coach, and just really as a podcaster now, winning podcast of the year with the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, and then with Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, training other speakers, like all the success came, and I was feeling a little bit of that shame, because this is something that happens, is that shame turns into guilt, and then that turns into undeservedness and unworthiness.
mhm,
And many of
mhm,
us, we feel unworthy, we feel undeserving. And then when we reach a level of success in our careers, what happens is we start to self sabotage ourselves because we don't fully receive at that level. And for me, I really had to do a lot of work just dealing with that shame, dealing with the guilt, dealing with the failures as a husband, dealing with the failures as a father, and then dealing with the failure as I look back and I was like, man, I could have been a better leader running these people because their lives are in my hand. You know what I mean? So
mhm, mhm.
that's kind of what I help really people deal with, some of that shame and guilt, because if you feel unworthy and deserving, those are the very ingredients that keep you from taking the action, because you feel unworthy and undeserved.
Mhm. No, I know. I think sometimes it's so difficult because you feel like you're making strides and you're moving forward, and then you kind of tend to want to slip back to what you've already known. The behavior patterns and the way of thinking, and so there's got to be a constant intention to keep moving forward and keep being positive. So no, I can totally understand that. There's so many things you do, Daniel. I mean, the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy is coming up the 10th and 11th at the Norris Conference Center. And that's something that it's a big deal. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And I know I attended last time in March. And it was so impactful that I think it was a Friday and Saturday, and then that Sunday I just felt tired just from how much we took in as far as energy. And there were so many speakers that had really deep messages to share with other people. And those things really were inspiring. And some of it was it used up so much energy that Sunday. I was like, oh my goodness, but we got so much out of it. I know it was something that really helped everybody to move forward. So we're looking forward to the one on the 10th and 11th. And then you have the Mighty Strong Foundation in October for the women's conference as well. How do you keep up with all of that? I mean, it seems like it's very time consuming, right? To get all of that organized and ready. And I know y'all go all out when you do those events. How do you manage your time? What helps you with your time management?
Well, you brought up some great points of what we do, and some great just questions to bring up, right? How do you manage the time? And I'm listening to what you were saying, and you made some great points. Sometimes when we come to these events, I want to kind of just reflect back on what you said. Is you were tired, you were drained. Well, the thing is, emotionally, it's speaking to your heart, to your soul. And most
Mhm,
people, we never allow ourselves to really heal at a deeper level.
mhm,
And what comes to mind is just, what comes to mind is just when one of the speakers, we and you both know him, Jesse Cruz, was sharing a story about his daughter. I think like everybody just felt his heart, and
Yeah, we
we
did.
like we absorbed that energy, we absorbed those emotions in the spirit, and that's what makes us like wow, right? Because it brings healing to us because it's like he's having a conversation speaking and we're receiving it, and just as me as the event planner and hearing all these stories and then speaking myself and giving of myself, it drains you. I mean, it's many
It did.
times
It did.
people
But
say
in a
this,
good
right?
way, in a good way
Yeah,
though, right? I mean, because I mean, you can go to events and you're like, oh, okay, well, not a big deal. But this one really, I mean, it took a lot of energy. And you're right. I think when we connect that way, it's at a deeper level. And I really did feel that with some of the speakers and their messages and a lot of their history and things that their experiences and things like that. So you could really relate to. And they're really good about being able to resonate with the audience.
I love what you
Um,
said, right? Because I love what you said. I want to bring that point up. I want your audience to write this down. Most people, I would say about over 50% of people never allow themselves to connect at a deeper level because they don't open their hearts to receive. Let me say it again. Most people never open up their hearts to receive at those deeper levels. And when you open up your heart, that's truly what transforms your mind and transforms your thinking. And that's where when you receive that, you're like, wow, it impacts you. That's the power of the stories that we share at Sticker Shock and when we train you how to become a paid speaker. But the getting paid to speak is great in everything that we provide, but it's more, I love hearing just people's stories because people pay you for your stories. But you know what the biggest reward is when you receive those stories, it really helps you to think like there is encouragement for me. That's encouragement. There is hope for me. And
Absolutely.
it's just amazing. So I love what you said that because when you receive at a deeper level, that's where the true transformation comes. So you're right. I'm tired. People say, well, how can you be so tired? It's like it's not physical work, but let me tell you, it
It's a
is
lot
work.
mental. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the
It
mental
is
work.
mentally. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It truly is. No, I remember, and there was so many things where I felt like people had the same message, but the way they came across, they worded it different. Their experience level was at a deeper level, and then just to hear it from different perspectives really made it sink in. Helped it to sink in the message itself. And you're right, the hope. Having hope, and I know Jesse's book is Losing Faith, Finding Hope. And I think, that just the title alone, and then hearing his speech, it really did resonate with everybody. Everybody could, relate to what he was talking about. And I remember, you taking time to pray over him during that time too. So even though it wasn't a religious type of event, it turned into that because everybody had that deep connection. And I think that it really was a way to celebrate those things, the stuff that we had been through and how we had worked past some of those experiences.
Yeah, because the biggest lie we've been taught to believe is that we're in a human body trying to figure out the spiritual realm. And
Mhm.
it's totally opposite of that. The reality is that we're spiritual beings trying to live in this human body. And
Mhm.
once you get that point of reference in your mind correct, that you're not a human being trying to figure out spiritual realm to say,
Mhm.
you're actually that spiritual being trying to figure out how the heck do I deal with this human life that I have? Because everything that we have is inside of us already. And to answer
Mhm.
your question, how do I deal with the women's conference that's going to come up on October 16th with Finding Your Inner Beauty Women's Conference? How do we deal with all the events that we have and everything going on? It's 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 a journey of becoming, Elizabeth. It's a journey of becoming who you are. For me, I remember I was real impatient. I was real impatient to where I wanted to be where I'm at right now. I wanted to be there 4 years ago. I wanted to be there 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I think if I would have had the success that I have today on this date in September of 2021, if I would have had this success, say even we'll just go back even three, and not even 2 years ago, I would have collapsed. It would have been too much because I wouldn't have had the foundation the spiritual strength, right? The person, as far as having faith that I deserved it, faith that I could do it, and having the foundation of having the wisdom of how to handle situations when things don't go right, or when somebody says a comment. And because so many times when I was younger, I would find myself being reactive, and I thought that I had to answer every comment somebody was saying, or prove them wrong to say. But
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
learned in my journey that I don't have to say anything. Like, it's like I don't
Yeah.
have to say anything.
Yeah, no, that's
So
true. I think I've come to that realization as well. And I think so much of it is, like you said, very reactive and impulsive, even. But I think a lot of it has to do with your self-esteem and your self-worth. When your self-esteem and your self-worth is in a good place, then you don't worry about what other people really. I mean, it's not so much what they say about you; it's how you feel about yourself. You know. And
yeah, no, but you're right. It's what you say about yourself. But so many
mhm,
times we feel like we have to justify it, and I think that's what really helped me. And I really want your audience to hear this, is that don't put undue pressure on you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a journey of becoming who God created you to be. And at that right moment when you're ready, the door's going to open and the opportunity is going to present itself. And don't be scared to open that door. And what comes to mind, Elizabeth, is it's funny. I always talk about this because it's a true fact. You know, I came out as a motivational speaker, and my friend, I never forget, my friend John goes, "Dude, that video sucks." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I wouldn't hire you as a motivational speaker." And I looked at it and I said, "You know what? I wouldn't have hired myself either." but it was my starting point. That's where I was, because I we always come out and we expect to be great. We expect to be like the world's renowned speaker. And I've grown
mhm,
into
mhm.
that person. But I was looking at that YouTube video and he's like, you look so nervous. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, but as I look at the video, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't hire myself either. But you have to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit and be honest with yourself and say, when the opportunity presents itself, I'll be ready. And so
Mhm,
many
mhm.
times we're not ready because we don't take the time to develop our character, develop our skill set, develop our mindset. And I think that that's what really helped me is, even though I'll be totally honest with your audience, there's still times right now that I wish I was far more ahead, right? I mean, I see visions of speaking to an audience of 100,000 people for myself. I'm going to speak to an audience of 100,000 people live one day, but I'm like, God, why not now? Like I'm ready. And maybe to me, I'm ready, but there's still stuff inside of me that's not ready. And sometimes I get impatient and I want things today, not yesterday. God, today, not tomorrow. Like, where's it at? I don't want to wait till
Mhm.
tomorrow. So I would say this is having the women's conference, having the speaker academy, having all these things is really uh, becoming that person. And another thing that's really allowed that to happen for us is having, for me, my wife is amazing. I love her. She supports me. Having
Mhm,
somebody that
mhm.
supports you. And I think this is an issue that many small business owners and even, leaders of organizations struggle with, is trust. We
Mhm,
just
mhm.
hired a sales professional, and because we're growing so much that I can't handle everything myself. I can't handle everything myself anymore. So it's really what's allowed me to grow and expand our brands with Sticker Shock and the Daniel Gomes Inspire Show and just Shield of Faith coaching and everything. It's like you have to duplicate yourself. And most people never see that. They want to do everything themselves. And there comes a point where you have to let go of some of the control and
Mhm,
trust the
mhm.
people that you put in your life to help you, the employees, the team members. So it's just really that whole thing of becoming, trusting other ones, whoever you hire, trust them that they're going to do the work and not be checking them every 10 minutes and micromanaging them, because
Right, right,
that's
right.
human nature.
Yeah, no, it's true, and that can be very stifling too. It stifles your creativity if you have like someone micromanaging you every step of the way. But I was just thinking, there's this saying they say that you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great, right? Some people they want it perfect, and they're waiting for perfection, or it's not the right time, and I'm waiting for the right time. You just got to start, and then work from there. Because I know I kept thinking that, well, it's not the right time, and when I have more money, and when I have more time, and No, I mean, you've got to take it from where you're at and then grow it and then, develop it, like you said, over time. It
That's a
comes
boom,
together.
baby, right?
Yeah,
I love what you
yeah.
said. You just
No,
gotta,
it's true
you just gotta
because so
start where
many
you're
people do
at.
that. Yeah, exactly. And so many people are like waiting for the conditions to just be just right. And it's like, no, you just, got to go with it. And it'll come together eventually, like all the pieces will fall into place. But I think that's one of the things that hinders people is they're waiting for everything to be just right. But
And you know what, Elizabeth? I'm glad you said that because you know what? It never comes. The
mhm,
perfect time, the perfect weather, the perfect ingredients never come.
mhm,
The thing
mhm,
is, as we just do it, right? Like I love that quote you said from, I think the great Zig Ziglar's the one that said that at first, right? You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great.
mhm,
Right there
mhm,
where you're at right now, right there where you're at right now. Start there.
mhm,
There. For you, there might be in the basement doing videos. For you, there might be starting your podcast in your kitchen. For you, there might be starting your podcast with what you have. Start there. Everybody's
mhm,
going to start at a different starting point. Let me say it again.
mhm.
Everybody's going to start at a different starting point. But so many times we compare ourselves to where somebody else starts and somebody else starts. And I was guilty of that.
Mhm, mhm,
To me, I was like you, right? I was like, I love what you said because I was one. I never cared. I was like, we'll fix it as we go along. I mean, everything I've done. I mean, there is some common sense, and you do want to use some wisdom in business. And don't get me wrong, but it's like
mhm,
I never waited for the perfect time, the perfect moment. I'm just gonna do it, and we'll figure out the details because the
mhm.
vision's there. And the beautiful thing is, half the stuff works itself out because there's gonna be
It
mistakes,
does.
there's gonna be failures, but
Mhm,
right there where you're at right now, you need to write this down, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone has a different starting point. So stop
mhm,
comparing your starting point to somebody else's starting point. And then stop comparing yourself to where you're at after you start. Stop comparing yourself to where you're at to where somebody else is at because it's a different place. Everybody's in a different season. And the truth is this is we all possess different skills. We all we all have possessed different gifts. And when you see
mhm.
that, for reality, you're like, why was I so hard on myself? But it's just the fact of we don't realize that because everybody started at a different place. And you're 100% right. Just start right there where you're at, and you don't have to
Mhm,
be great
mhm.
to start. I love that.
No, I was remembering. I think we were reading about Andrew Carnegie. I think he was in college, and it just made me think about it because he started off with one thing, and then he kind of added to it. So in the end, he actually monopolized the idea of, well, we're transporting, the transportation part of the product or the service, and then he also had the refining piece, and so he kind of monopolize all these different areas in order for him to grow his business. And I thought that was really neat. You master one piece and then you kind of add to it, so you're constantly growing. And I thought that was really neat. And the neat thing is, when I like to read about people who start off with like a rags to riches type story, because
Yes.
that it wasn't old money, like it wasn't your parents that left you like an inheritance or something, and they really took their passion to a whole different level. And that for me is inspiring to read that, or to see people who came from humble beginnings and they become millionaires or multimillionaires, and you're thinking, wow, because that makes me feel like, okay, well, there's faith, it gives me faith and it gives me hope that, hey, there's, I can do it too, because it's been done before. And those
Yes,
those
you're
are the kind
right.
of things I like to see and hear about. And that's one of the reasons I did the podcast, because I thought, there's so many people who feel like, I want to do more, but I don't know how to get there. And so listening to people's stories and inspiring them, motivating them really makes a big difference, I think.
Well,
Um,
it goes with the name of your podcast, right? The Amazing You. Many people don't see themselves as amazing. They don't see themselves as being amazing. They're like, who,
mhm,
me? Like, yes, you're amazing. Like people need to
mhm,
realize that you're listening to the Amazing You podcast, but you're amazing yourself. And
mhm, mhm,
many people don't see themselves as being amazing, so they never even try to attempt anything worthwhile, anything amazing. You have to realize that there's something amazing inside of you. There's something amazing inside of all of us here in this world. We're not created by accident. There's a purpose by what we do, and it's just it goes back to realizing when you realize that there's something amazing inside of you, and there's nothing that you can't accomplish. You're going to take on the world. And I love what you said about Carnegie, that he monopolized one area of business. I see so many entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners that they water down their focus. They water down their efforts because they try to monopolize 3 or 4 things at one time. You can't do it. We hear this terminology. I think so many times we hear people on Instagram, Facebook, and Clubhouse, and wherever you listen to, whatever social media platform you favor, that, oh, multiple streams of income. You need this, you need this, and then guess what? You're trying to start this stream of income, this multi-level marketing, and you're like, no, we only have so much focus in a day. Let me say it again. We only have so much focus in a day. And the more you water it down, the less effective you're going to be. Let me say it again. The more you water down your focus, the less effective you're going to be. So just imagine this. I always use this story, this analogy when I talk about it, is because just imagine we have 3 rose bushes, Elizabeth, and those rose bushes represent our multiple streams of income. Right? Each rose bush is a stream of income. Well, each rose bush takes a gallon of water. Well, guess what? You only have 1 gallon of water a day. Which rose bush are you going to water? And the problem that we make, the mistake that we make, is we try to water 1 rose bush, 2 rose bushes, 3 rose bushes. And for a while, they kind of stay alive a little bit because they have the nutrients to water. But within time, it's not getting the watering, the new nutrients that it needs. It's not being fed. So little by little, they deteriorate. And before you know it, instead of having 1 beautiful rose bush, which you should have started with in the beginning, you have 3 rose bushes that end up deteriorating and dying because you didn't have the focus, you didn't have the intentionality, like you said earlier, to just do that. And that's the mistake. When you, like, for myself, a good example of that is, for myself, when I came out, it was really as a motivational speaker. As far-fetched as that was to everybody around me, they're like, no, I'm going to do this. But as my speaking career grew, that was the tree of my business, the trunk, to say, right? The trunk. And then people started saying, well, how are you doing all these gigs? Where are you getting them from? And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, in my mind, I thought everybody was doing it. That was a speaker. I mean, I didn't know any better. Just God gave me an idea. I would do it. I had a coach there for a while, and he kind of gave me a foundation, and I ran with it. And I just asked God, show me the way. And as I did that, my speaking blew up. Shared the stage live with Les Brown, with Tom Bilyeu. And then speaking over in Asia, that was international. It was amazing. But from that, people said, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? I'm like, I'd give them some advice here and there, but then God says, no, that's part of your business now. Develop it. So we had speaking that was doing it. Then Sticker Shock was born, right? Because of the Speaking Academy. That was another revenue source. And then I had my book. And then so as I had my book, well, guess what? I started helping people with their books. And now, right, that's another revenue source. And then when COVID happened, he said, start your podcast. I didn't want to start my podcast. I was like, with all the success I had, no, true story. I'm like, well, who's going to listen to Daniel? I just, because it was speaking, all that I had to say dominated, done well, but now it was a different lane that I wasn't used to. So I was like, well, just do it. But the funny thing is this, Elizabeth, I had been practicing for 6 months to start a podcast. It just was hesitant. I would do my Facebook lives with my mic. I would practice, but when the time came, I'd say, God says, start it. I'm not asking you to start it. Start it. So I did. Well, then we won Podcast of the Year, and now we're helping other podcasters, and we're growing their brand and helping them launch and doing their podcast launches, their productions, because it's not an easy task, and most people don't know how to go about it right. But it's just that we provide the coaching and the guidance and everything, and that's another revenue source. So I want your audience to listen to this. From speaking came the trunk of the Speaker Academy, where we train speakers. We do book coaching and book publishing to help some of our clients, right? And then we do the podcast launching for aspiring podcasters and the podcast production. We've taken over some amazing, well-established podcasts that we're doing their production for them. So you got Speaking Academy books, you got podcast launching, and then we do course creation. So that's 4 other revenue streams besides speaking. So now we have 5 revenue streams that is allowing us to do amazing, but it started with the one. So I think that's a good, and that's a great story to go with what you said about Carnegie, because he
Yeah,
monetized the
definitely.
one, and guess
Right.
what? Now there's more. And
Right.
now when there's
Exactly.
more, it's like Daniel said, I had to hire a sales professional because I couldn't do it by myself.
I just think that's amazing. I think that the idea that, we really don't know just how much we can impact the community or others until you give yourself that chance to grow, and we're so used to the patterns and the routines of what we do that we are uncomfortable when we do something different, or when we do something that is something we haven't done before. And so you get that anxiety, you're like, oh, I don't know. And if we give ourselves that chance to really try it, look what happens, look at all of that, who would have thought, right? That you could do all those things, but I think for me, I never really had given myself that opportunity to try all of those things and see how it would work out. And I think there's probably a whole bunch of other people out there who want to try something new and just are afraid, and the fear holds them back, and the fear of failure, and the idea of lack, and they think, well, I don't have the money for that. But if you really try, it happens, like it comes about, and the money is there. I know
Yeah,
at the
but you're a
very
great example of
beginning.
that, right? You're a great example of that, because you came to the speaking academy, and then an opportunity opened up for you to speak live in an audience at our business conference, and you ran with it, and you gave an amazing speech.
Thank
And
you.
I think that you would have never imagined yourself, maybe even a
No.
year ago, or much less 5 years ago,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna speak to an audience, and they're gonna be like, yeah, because your message was so amazing. But you took that gamble on yourself, Elizabeth. And most people, the sad part about people listening to this podcast, many have never gambled on themselves. They've never bet on themselves. But you did it, and now you're reaping the rewards. You're speaking at our women's conference here on October 16th, and you have your own podcast, and you're doing it. You have a book, but it started with you taking action, and most people never bet on themselves to that magnitude.
You're absolutely right. I think, refining your skills happens as you go. And I think that we don't value our potential like we should. I mean, a lot of people, and I think women in general kind of, the kids first, and then, you take care of your husband, and you end up putting yourself last. But if you give yourself that opportunity, there's no stopping you. Like, if you think about it, especially if it's something you're passionate about, like your mission. Um, and that's one of the things that I think that the why of what you do is so important, knowing your why, because that's what motivates you to keep moving forward.
Yes, no, for sure. That's
Mhm.
been. I tell you what, you're giving your listeners some great wisdom. So thank you so much. I've been loving
Thank
just
you.
being on your podcast. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, I just think that if there was a way to inspire others to really just take that, leap of faith and go for it, I think that they would be so happy with just the small baby steps, that they would continue to gain momentum and move forward. But we got to give ourselves that chance, though, to take those baby steps to get started. So I
Yes.
think that's really important. Um, so you were talking about Monty, and I know she's amazing. She does so many things, and she takes care of the details, right? I
Yes.
see her, and I love it. I mean, I know when we did the speaking academy, and she had the cookies with the Daniel Gomes Inspires logo on them. I thought, oh wow, those are so cool. And some had the mic, and just things like that really stand out to people. And it adds value to everything that you're doing. And she's got a great way of adding that, extra piece, that really just draws people in, and her personality too. And to me, she seems like more of the behind the scenes kind of person who, I mean, if you didn't know, you wouldn't realize just how much she does. But she's kind of, not real like in the spotlight kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
do think that she's an amazing person. And I think she's got a great story, a great testimony of what God's done in y'all's life, and how y'all have really taken that opportunity to help others and share that opportunity with others, and, show them just how much they matter and how much they mean, and how much they can do on their own. So I'm looking forward to the women's conference. I think that that's a good opportunity for any woman who has an opportunity to go and just to listen, and she adds a lot of value. And I think that the speakers that are going to be there are also going to add a lot of value. So you can get a lot out of there's from their speeches and things like that. And it's at the
Thank you.
Norris
I
Conference
appreciate that.
Center.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's gonna be October 16th, 2021 this year, October 16th on a Saturday. We have the event on Eventbrite, and so definitely, if any one of your audience wants to go out there and join us for All Women, we're raising money for breast cancer awareness, and all the proceeds that we raise, a big portion of that goes back to the women that we're helping with breast cancer. So thank you for your
Mhm.
mentioning of the event, and it's going to be
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
It's called Finding Your Inner Beauty Women's Conference, and like I said, it supports our foundation, the Mighty Strong Foundation, where we give back to women that have been impacted by breast cancer. So when you attend, just know that you're helping women that have been impacted by breast cancer. So thank you so much for that, Elizabeth.
Oh, you're welcome. No, you're welcome. So I just think that, y'all are a great team, and you've done so many things, and to watch y'all and to look, to sit back and see everything happening, I'm thinking, gosh, um, you hope that you find someone, that way for yourself, so that you can do the same, and help it grow. But it's really difficult, I think, too, to find that person that you just really click with, that is able to, support you in such a way, and to take that leap of faith with you,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, no, she's an amazing wife. And talking about amazing, what I want to do is give your audience a free gift. If they text the word confident to 26786, that's text the word confident to 26786. I want to give you my free training, 7 Steps to Fly Daily. And it's going to really just help you to get the morning going. And you're going to get an amazing training with that. We used to sell that for $147, but it's something free that I give out now because I want to pour into other people. So text the word confident to 26786. And then your audience can, another thing is they can get a copy of my book on Amazon. You Were Born to Fly. This book is amazing. It's a great book on self-leadership. So you want to just let your audience, I want to let your audience know that they can get a copy of that, and that's going to be amazing. So, but thank you so much for having me on your
Perfect.
show. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank you, Daniel, for everything. I appreciate you. And hopefully everybody got that. It's 26786. Just text confident in order to get the 7 Steps to Fly Daily. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
No, thank you for having me. And I want to say this before we close out, if you don't mind, is
Mhm.
God can take mold and turn it into penicillin, stinky old smelly mold, and turn it into penicillin. What can God not do in your life if you do not, if you allowed him to? Think about that. If you allowed God into
Mhm.
your life, what can he do in your life? He turned mold into penicillin. What can he not do in your life if you allow him to? So this is Daniel Gomez Inspires telling you right now, if no one's ever told you they believe in you, I'm telling you right now, I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Daniel. Well, we'll see you later on. Thank you so much for everything.
No, thank you for having me on your show. It was an awesome. Woo! Thank you. It was
Thank
awesome.
you.
I had a
Okay.
great time.
Thank you. Thank you.